Owen Daniel is the youngest guest we've ever had on 06880, the podcast. He is a senior at Weston High School. Today happens to be senior skip day,
Exactly.
but he is spending part of his senior skip day with us, which is great. Owen balances schoolwork, though as a second semester senior, that's probably non-existent, with performing, songwriting, and producing musical events. And this fall, Owen is going to Berklee School of Music in Boston.
Yes, sir.
So welcome, Owen, to 06880, the podcast.
Thank you very much, Dan. It's an honor to be here. I really appreciate you having me.
It's fun.
Great.
I did not realize you had a connection with the library and Verso.
Exactly. Yeah, I've been doing crew call here for, I'd say, a little over a year. I've learned so much from the people here. David Bibby, he's a great guy to work with. Alex, Travis, Mr. Paul. I call him Mr. Paul because he's my old music teacher. But Eric, Paul here, they're all amazing people to be working with and learning from. Every time I come here, it's something new that I learn.
It's a great facility.
Exactly.
Really
It's
is.
wonderful. It's a great resource to have here for sure.
So were you always musical?
Yes, I would say from a young age, I started playing guitar and keyboard. I was always singing as well. There's a ton of videos of me back in the day dancing around the kitchen and putting on concerts and all that fun stuff, you know. We would put out folding chairs in my basement, my sister and I, and we would use that as a stage. And we would kind of just perform for our parents, and that would be that. It was always a good time. And so yeah, just kind of growing up, it was a lot of music, a lot of different musical influences that I'd say are still present right now. That it's just really cool to kind of take it and run with it. I didn't realize it was necessarily a possibility to make it a reality. You know.
You're making it happen.
Thank you.
Who are the the big influences?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of them. Eric Clapton's always been a big one. Train was one that I kind of grew up to. Listen to them in the back of my mom's car when she was driving me around. Right now, honestly, it's a big mix of things. I could talk about this for hours, but I would say a main one right now would be B.B. King, honestly.
Really?
Which I know you wouldn't expect that kind of listening to my music, right? But if there's something just about like blues and all of that whole like genre of music, I would say sophomore year was really when I kind of started to get into that. I had this class called CMD, Contemporary Media Design, and instead of designing contemporary media, I would watch YouTube videos of B.B. King live just for hours. And it would be like right at 7:45 in the morning when I got to school. That's what I would do. And throughout the day, sounds kind of nuts, but everything that I would do would be in time to this like track that I had heard from B.B. King. It'd be I'm sure I looked insane, but it would just be like, you just kind of like makes you feel something. And it's really interesting to kind of, like see how like one person's music can shape a genre that much. But in terms of like,
There is one of your fellow Weston residents was very influenced by B.B. King.
really?
Keith Richards.
Keith Richards, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
They were heavily influenced by
Right.
American blues.
Exactly. Yeah, the Rolling Stones. It's it's an incredible time right there as well. And then obviously, like, in terms of today, someone who's influenced my songwriting a lot would be Noah Kahan for sure. Just like the mastery that he has over these like lyrics. It's just something that's like incredible. Like he has a live album out as well. And there's really just something interesting. And again, it goes back to that kind of like feeling, right? Even if you can't exactly connect to the subject matter of the song, it still makes you feel something, right? And I think to me, that's like the definition of good art right there. Is like kind of no matter what it is that the topic is about, it can still kind of make you feel something.
Now, where do you stand among your friends and teenagers in Weston in terms of music? I mean, do they know who B.B. King is?
You
Who do they
know,
listen to, and where are you compared to that?
yeah, that's a really good question. I would say right now, I mean, in terms of my generation, I feel like we're trending a lot more towards electronic music, rap, kind of hip hop, that type of like contemporary pop type of stuff, right? And I think there's a really cool space for that. And I also think a lot of that is, no matter if you hear it or not, it's still there's blues and these like principal foundations still like deeply rooted in the music that we're listening to today. But I would say there's something just so like special about going to a show and seeing all the music you're hearing like right in front of you. You know what I mean? Um, a good example of that would probably be in June of last year. I went to a festival called Gov Ball. It's something that a lot of people from around here go
Sure.
to. I'm sure you've heard. It's a huge festival. I think something crazy like 80,000 people over the weekend it is that end up attending. Could even be more than that. I'm not sure, but the point being, the one band that really stood out to me while we were there, it's a band out of Utah called the Backseat Lovers, and they put out a lot of indie rock music, and everything that was happening, coming through the PA, was all happening right there on that stage, and I thought that was something that's really interesting and something that I'm kind of working towards creating in my own music as well.
So, what came first, performing or writing?
Ooh, you know, it's funny. I don't know if there was ever like a time that I can pinpoint where I started writing music. I think performing was always something that I did. It was just, it was just a good. I thought a good way to kind of like express myself and have fun. I think it's interesting because I had concepts growing up as a kid. I would always walk around the house singing guitar riffs. Funnily enough, I would be like, I'd be just making guitar noises all day, and it doesn't sound like much until you realize like, oh, like those are kind of like I can make those noises on a guitar now, and I'm like, I remember my mom saying to me like, Owen, you're driving me crazy. Like this is, don't keep making those noises until you can play them on a guitar. And they've always been so supportive of my music and things like that. But like just realizing that, like all these kind of like noises and like kind of ideas floating around my head are now like something that you can kind of like bring to fruition, if that makes sense. Um,
So, what's the process of writing?
yeah. I would say there's a lot of different ways to go about it. And I think especially now in a time where we can all be so connected virtually as well. I know people who collaborate over Zoom and they'll write music together over Zoom, or there's people that'll kind of they'll go out to Nashville for a week or whatever it is and record an album, but obviously you're not writing, conceptualizing and producing an album just within that 1 week. So there's a lot of back and forth between like, yourself and the producer beforehand. And I've learned a lot of this from just listening to a lot of people talk about it. But I'd say for me, a lot of it is honestly just kind of like in its simplest form, sitting on like my bedroom floor and just banging out, melodies and guitar parts and things like that. And just kind of playing playing something until you get bored of it and just kind of finding these different, little pockets that you can sit in where there's a bunch of different things worth exploring. And I think that's kind of it's never really like a set process, and I wish it was because that would probably be a little easier. But I think there's something about like really working towards what you're putting out that makes it so unique. So I'll kind of tend to conceptualize a song at home, and then we'll take it into the studio, record maybe like a run of demos, maybe like 3 or 4 songs, and then from those 3 or 4 songs, we'll say, here's one that really stands out to us. I can hear the string part going here. I can hear the keys coming in here. We can hear vocal layering here. And we take all of those elements based on, kind of what feels strongest in the moment. And for the next, whatever it may be 6 months, it may be a year, we just pour everything into that one song that we can. Because the reality of it is like I'm still growing as a musician, right? I mean, I think everybody is, but especially now, what I've kind of talked to my producer about Ethan Isaac over at Factory Underground. He's one of the owners and producers there, and I've worked closely with him on all the music that I've been putting out. What we've kind of been talking about is just making sure that what we're putting out is really listenable. It doesn't feel rushed, it doesn't feel underdone, doesn't have to feel, the idea is it doesn't feel overdone either, but it's just like we're giving it enough time to sit with it and say this is something that people can really connect to, because otherwise we both agree that there's no sense in putting all this time and resources into a song that you're just gonna put out and not be happy with the finished product, right? So you want something that's kind of that you can be proud of at the end of the day,
What are you proudest of? Is there
Ooh.
one or two that define you?
Yeah, I would say that's a really good question. The one that we're working on right now in the studio actually is called Home. I've been teasing it a bit on my TikTok and Instagram and things like that. And I think it's just like a really interesting song in the sense that what I've started doing, because after a while you have to start exploring other topics in your writing, right? Like you can't just kind of focus on the same thing. So what I've kind of done is taking certain problems or conflicts or things like that I've experienced and personifying those, right? Because I think that's been kind of like a fun exercise for me to both understand, emotion and understand, like these, internal conflicts or whatever they may be. And you kind of like personify those things, and it's as if you're kind of having a conversation with them, which maybe that sounds a little weird, but I would say it's kind of that's the way my music has kind of been like propelled thus far, I would say. And I think this song Home is a great representation of that. I think it's got a great kind of melody that we've been working through, a lot of different like components melodically and just like vertically as well. Like we're just kind of trying to build out this song so again it feels natural, but it also feels well produced and well supported. So I think there's a lot to be said for all the work that happens in the studio, and I think we're predicting Home to be one of the biggest ones I'm putting out so far. Thank you.
So what's your style? How do you describe it?
I would say the style is kind of shaped by a lot of these influences we've been talking about, right? So there's maybe not, you don't hear B.B. King as much in the music, you don't hear as much of the blues like John Mayer, but there's those same emotions mixed with a lot of like folk pop type of stuff. So it would be a lot of Louis Capaldi, a lot of Noah Kahan, these kind of like piano, guitar, acoustic ballads that you can kind of just throw a lot of emotion into, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I never want it to feel overdone. I just want it to be what it is, right? There's something I think so incredible about being able to sit in a room and hold someone's attention for 90 minutes with just a keyboard or a guitar and vocals, right? Like I don't think there should ever be a need to grab someone's attention with a band just for the sake of doing it, right? I think if you're a singer-songwriter and there's a way, I think having that like acoustic element is just something that never leaves you, you know what I mean? And I think it's those like vulnerable moments that really kind of define the music and define like your connection with the audience, even, if that makes sense.
So sounds like you're very comfortable in the studio. What's it like getting up in front of an audience?
It's interesting because a lot of the gigs I'm playing right now are more gigs that help me fund the music, fund the studio time and the music videos and all the creative aspects of it. So a lot of the time it'll be playing bar gigs or things like that kind of help me meet new people, and also it's become work in a sense, and it's a great job to have.
Great
But
gig.
right, exactly. But instead of kind of I don't want to say typical high school job, but instead of kind of like doing any sort of like different job as like a high schooler, that's kind of become like my summer job and the thing that I do as work, right? But then there's times where it's great to just get up in front of a really attentive audience, and do your best to hold their attention for as long as you can, right? I actually played right on this stage a few months ago with the band.
Battle of the Bands.
Yeah, exactly. It was a good time, and it's
Did you win?
we did not. We came in second, but it was just the whole point was, just being like a good time and just being a way to connect with an audience. That was more of like a band gig, so we kind of just, we were jamming out and having a good time, but it was it was cool to just like kind of have an attentive audience. I've got a few more of those coming up, actually, um, not in that format, but I'm actually opening up for a guy named Elliot Lewis, who is one of the band members for Hall & Oates for a while. I played with ZZ Top and a lot of those people. So I am opening up for him along with another country singer-songwriter named Ashley Joe, right at Factory Underground, actually on March 22nd,
Okay.
or 27th. 27th. Don't show up on the 22nd because it will not be the 22nd.
27th is the
20
same night that Wycliffe Jean is going to
Right,
be here.
exactly, which is the unfortunate part. I don't want to split anyone's attention, so you do what you will with that information. But I think I'm really excited for that one in the sense that it is, getting up in front of an attentive audience and, having people that are there for the music and things like that. And I think it's a really cool thing. It's also a really intimidating thing in a sense. I had this conversation with my producer last week. I had a performance a couple weeks ago where, you do all of these, bar gigs and things like that. And then I think there was a part of me that approached playing in front of an audience too casually, right? Like you're used to being kind of like, you're used to the passive listening. And then when you walk into a room full of people that's locked in right on you, it's like, holy crap, like this is happening, right? And it's, you have to kind of figure out a way to be in the moment, but also not be too like, too tight, too tense. And I think there's a healthy balance in there that I'm still trying to find, and I think it just comes with time,
Sure. You will be at the Soundview Summer Stroll
Yes,
again
sir.
this year.
Exactly.
Second year in a row.
For sure. Yeah, I'm very excited for that one as well. That one is in is June, is that correct?
Yep. July.
July. Awesome. Yeah, so I'll be there in Westport as well. There's a lot of cool things coming up that I'm really excited about, and I'm hoping in some capacity that I can kind of travel over the summer to play a few shows here and there. I'm noticing pockets of people popping up in Pennsylvania and New York and Jersey, and so the idea is to kind of do a mini tour in a sense and kind of go meet some people that have been listening to the music and enjoying it.
Do you do all your own marketing?
I work a lot with my mom, actually, who is in public relations. She's been doing that for over like 30 years. So she's been incredible to kind of work with and help me propel forward my music career, as well as just being an amazing mom. But
Shout
I
out
think
to Jennifer.
exactly, shout out to Jennifer. And so, I mean, she's been someone who has been, I think, influential in shaping what this has all become, and also Mark Allen over at Factory Underground and Ethan Isaac, who have helped me push the music as far as we've taken it. They've been great in distributing the music and making introductions and giving me the resources that I need to kind of further what it is that I'm trying to do. And so I think it's been great that they've equipped me with all these things that I think are ultimately just a great way to learn while trying to still grow my career.
Talk about the graduation contest that
Yes.
you're having.
Yeah. So talk about marketing. Actually, so it's it was an idea that my mom had that we had kind of talked to the production team at Factory about as well. Just kind of trying to find, if we talk about a target audience, right? And what songs align with different people. We thought Hundreds of Miles, my most recent release, really identified with people who are graduating. I've heard, not many, but I've heard a few stories from people who are saying like, oh, this is really kind of, I identify with this as a senior in high school, moving on to other things. So we decided it'd be neat if I could play a graduation ceremony somewhere. So I think now until the end of March, we're kind of accepting submissions for people to, if this is something that people are interested in me playing at their graduation. I don't know that it will be, and it could be, it might not be. But if they're interested, they're interested. And I think it'd be really cool to play a graduation. So I think if there's anyone out there who's trying to book some music for a graduation ceremony, hit me up and we'll do something. We'll make
Give
it
them the
happen.
contact info.
Yeah, you can go to owendanielmusic.com, and it's right across the top of the website. It's Graduation Contest 26. And then also too, we have a phone number now, 917-540-7248. You can text grad to that number as well, and that'll send you all the information you need to know.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
So speaking of graduation, you are headed to Berklee College of Music.
Exactly. It's
Great place.
I'm excited. It's a little nerve-wracking. It's very exciting. All the different things. I've been committed for about a month or so, and even just kind of talking to a lot of different people about it, it seems like, as silly as it seems like it could be the place for me. It sounds like I sure as heck hope so, because I'm going there. No, but I think I think it'll be a great experience, and just great to meet a lot of the different people there that are, kind of pursuing what I'm trying. Like we're all trying to pursue the same thing in a sense.
Now they have a performing track and a production track.
Exactly.
Right?
So what I'm kind of thinking of doing is a major called professional music, which allows you to focus on a few different aspects. It allows you to focus on production, songwriting, and performance. And so I'm kind of looking at that route. That's the thing that I'm most excited for. And I think it was really interesting to see. I was there over the summer for a week-long music business program. And it was 80 kids literally from like all across the world. We had people out literally all over the place. And it was incredible to meet all these people that were interested in the same thing that I was interested in.
Your tribe.
Right, exactly. Growing up kind of in a small town, that's not really something you see a lot, but it's incredible to kind of realize that there's other people out there that are kind of, doing the same thing, if that makes sense,
So looking ahead,
Yes.
AI. Everybody, there are predictions that AI is going to be writing the music, performing the music.
Right.
Are you worried?
I think it's a multifaceted type of thing. I think there's a lot of things that AI can be doing. I talked to a friend of mine the other day who's close friends with the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company who is using AI to make his own music. And this is something that, 10, 15 years ago might have been unheard of, but is now like something that people are actually doing. This guy has all the money in the world to, go into the studio and do whatever he wants. But just in terms of experimenting, he thought, why not kind of try and see if this is something that is really working. And there's in a sense, like it is working, right? And I think that there's something to be said for that. And I've also seen people who doing interviews talking about kind of like the process behind making music and how easy it is to have AI to do it for you, which I think is a really upsetting opinion, because I think the whole thing about making music is the process, right? Like there's something so like intrinsically human about it that kind of disappears the second you have AI write lyrics or make a song. You can't like replicate human emotion. You know what I mean? It's nuts. And I think that's where, like, talking to a few other event production friends of mine, that's really where live events come into play, right? So concerts and festivals and things like that where I mean, I don't know about you. I just don't see a way for AI to be playing a concert anytime soon. I'm sure someone will find a way to make it happen, but I think that like the live event space and concerts and all of that is really going to be the thing that um separates just talented musicians, singer-songwriters, artists and bands from all over from AI. There's a crazy number of tracks a day that are just put out into the world. I think the number's up to like on average 100,000 songs a day that are just put out there.
Really?
Um, and the numbers, you can take the numbers with a grain of salt. I don't know. I've heard 60,000, I've heard 100, whatever it may be. 60,000, 60,000, regardless of what it is, it's still a lot of songs, right? And so to think that there's even more that could be put out there with AI and things like that, it's nuts, but it's also I think it's cool that it's accessible to people not through AI, but just in general. Like you see 60,000 songs a day being put out. Well, I think that's pretty neat that 60,000 people can access the means necessary to put out a song. And I think it's really cool. And so in a way, there's a lot of good technology out there as well, but I think it's just something to be cognizant of. But I don't know how like telling it is right now.
The jury is still out.
Right, exactly.
And certainly it's out for me as a writer as well.
Right.
About where it's going. This is great. Last question.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about music. Haven't talked a lot about Weston.
Yeah.
How has Weston been growing up in Weston? How's that been for you?
It's been great. It's a small community, but it's a very supportive community. And so you kind of grow up going to events, whether it be family, friends, whatever. And you just kind of, you see the same people, right? And it's really great to just kind of get to know a group of people closely and kind of grow with them and still have the opportunity to expand beyond that, right? Honestly, it was a nonprofit organization, Weston Arts, that helped me kind of get all of this started. I remember it was, I think, sophomore year, like early on sophomore year, in that like September, I was talking to a friend of mine. I was like, how great would it be to have an event that we can just kind of showcase a lot of different music from around Weston and around Westport, Norwalk, whatever it may be. And that's how I ended up coming into contact with Factory Underground. Weston Arts was able to fund the event, and from there, we had this event called Standing Room Only. It was in January of my sophomore year, so that was a few years ago. And what we did was we brought out 4 bands. I played solo, and I remember jamming out with an old guitar teacher of mine before the show, and I was like, hey, like, I think this could be pretty neat to play. It's a song that I wrote. It was one of the first ones that I had kind of finished at that stage of my life, you know what I mean? I'd never really shared music outside of that before that I had written. And so we talked, and he was like, yeah, like, I think you should really play this and just have at it. And I think if you don't play it, you're going to be disappointed. And so thanks to Weston Arts, helping me put out this event, right? We were able to, have this event that was a great, kind of showcase for, all the talent in the area. And I played this song for the first time, and it was really simple at that time. It was 2 verses and 3 choruses, and towards the latter third of the song, I was like, in an effort to be totally transparent, this is a song that I wrote. I didn't even have a name for it at that point. It was just it was in its kind of purest form, if that makes sense. And that was the thing that really kickstarted all of this. That's how I met Ethan Isaac at Factory Underground. He came up to me after the show and was like, hey, it'd be great to have you record that here. And so it really was those like small town community moments that influenced where I'm at now and where I'm trying to go,
That's great. Small town, big city ahead.
Exactly.
heading to Boston. And Owen Daniel, it has been great. I've learned a lot.
Thank you very much, Dan. It's been a
your-
pleasure.
Your music is fantastic.
Thank you.
And we look forward to the summer stroll.
Yeah.
And right now, go enjoy the rest of Senior Skip Day.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dan.
Rock on.
Awesome.